It is Tuesday, January the 3rd, 2023. Good morning, I'm Pearson Bowen. This is the CBC Morning Report. The Firehood Angels will be pitching on the beach tomorrow, giving local female entrepreneurs in the area of technology the opportunity to access $25,000. The initiative is being facilitated by Invest Barbados. Now, co-founder Danielle Graham joins us to tell us more about the Firehood Angels and why they chose Barbados. Ms. Graham, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. First of all, welcome to Barbados. Tell us who are the Firehood Angels and what you're about.
So the Firehood Angels is a movement focused on increasing the prosperity, leadership, and opportunities for leadership within women in technology.
So why have you chosen Barbados to make this pitch this time?
So actually many of our members are executives within technology across North America, and some of them are native to Barbados. So they encouraged us to participate, and because of so many of our network and the opportunity with Invest Barbados, we are attending Barbados as our first international experience with the Firehood Angels.
So what are you hoping to achieve by this experience tomorrow when the ladies come to pitch?
So we're looking forward to meeting all of the founders. We're hoping to encourage more entrepreneurship in the ecosystem and see where the founders are at and directly invest in their companies.
Is there any restriction, limitation, conditions around who gets to pitch?
It's very open. So we're looking for women entrepreneurs who come to the Hilton to meet us here to pitch their ideas. We're going to be here from 10 to 3 p.m. So we really want to hear the ideas and see where we can support.
It's at the Hilton Barbados tomorrow from 10 in the morning. And so whoever you are, whatever your endeavor, you can come make the pitch. And out of it, you're hoping, these individuals are hoping to receive funding to assist them forward. Give us a sense of the experience, the kinds of responses you've had thus far, one, not just in Barbados alone, about what you do as Firehood Angels.
So we've had an incredible amount of founders participate and engage with us. We usually get about 50 to 100 founders per event that we host, and we're seeing the numbers of applicants rise every day. So we're hoping to see similar numbers. And a lot of the time, because we have so many individual angels, they connect with different founders. So it's not just about the one winner, it's also about the mentorship and opportunities all of our angels can provide to all of the founders.
So it's pretty much startup funding, and then thereafter that relationship with the funder can build from there. One sees one success. What are some of the other plans that you have on the table for Firehood Angels?
So this is actually our first year, and in the last 6 months, we've deployed over 1.5 million directly into women-led startups. So as we build out the network, we have different individuals who can build peer-to-peer networks and support not only the growth of the company, but each other's knowledge and leadership within technology. So we're hoping to offer more training opportunities and educational opportunities, as well as professional opportunities for women who want to build their careers in tech.
So just to reinforce, it's tomorrow at the Barbados Hilton from 10 in the morning. Anyone, any female who is in entrepreneurship, she can come and she can make a pitch. To how many people will she be pitching to or have an opportunity to pitch to?
So we have 12 Firehood Angels here in person.
All right, that's fantastic. So it's a great opportunity, and I want to commend you and the Firehood Angels for taking the time to come to Barbados and to provide our female entrepreneurs the opportunity to receive the funding they need to take their business to the next stage. Thank you so much, Danielle Graham, for joining us this morning.
Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome indeed. We'll take a break here on the Morning Report, but coming up, Morocco bans all travelers from China in the wake of a new COVID wave, and Russia says over 50 have been killed via strikes from Ukraine.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Affairs segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb, and together we will travel the world.
The CBC That Made Us, featuring programming from yesteryear, which impacted the lives of many Barbadians. Join me, Sean Green, taking you back.
Morocco has placed a full ban on all travelers from China, as some governments around the world have imposed or are considering imposing restrictions on travelers from that country as coronavirus cases there surge following its relaxation of zero-COVID rules.
Before the pandemic, Australia was a popular destination for Chinese travelers, and they're expected to return soon as China prepares to open its borders for the first time in almost 3 years. But from Thursday, they'll face new restrictions.
The government has decided, out of an abundance of caution, to require travellers from China to submit evidence before boarding their flight of a negative COVID test.
Canada, the United States, United Kingdom, Japan, India and South Korea will also screen passengers from China. In Europe, France, Italy and Spain will do the same and are encouraging other EU nations to follow suit. Morocco has taken the hardest line, banning all Chinese travellers from Tuesday. Many fear the outbreak here could lead to a new coronavirus strain and spark new waves of infections globally. Beijing has hit back at the restrictions, calling them unscientific.
Many leading medical experts from multiple countries have said that there is no need to impose restrictions on border entry of travelers from China.
The World Health Organization says it's understandable governments want to protect their populations. It has asked for more real-time data on deaths, hospitalization and strains.
Beijing says it isn't withholding any information from the WHO, but with only a dozen COVID-19 deaths reported in recent weeks, scientists suspect a drastic underreporting of infections. Some estimates suggest that there could be as many as 9,000 deaths occurring every day.
In other news now, Russia is reporting that 63 of its troops were killed during a Ukrainian attack on a makeshift barracks in the partly occupied Donetsk region.
It happened in the town of Makiivka. The Ukrainian military has taken responsibility for the attack, but has not confirmed how many people were killed.
Киевским режимом нанесен удар 6 реактивными снарядами.
The Kyiv regime targeted a temporary deployment point of one of the units of the Russian armed forces near the settlement of Makiivka in the Donetsk People's Republic with 6 rockets of US-made HIMARS multiple rocket launchers. Russian air defense systems shot down 2 HIMARS rockets as a result of the strike of 4 missiles with high explosive warhead at a temporary deployment point. 63 Russian servicemen were killed.
Well, Charles Stratford is live in Kiev for more of this. And Charles, of course, conflicting information on the scale of this attack, how many casualties there may or may not have been, but clearly a significant incident. What are the Ukrainians saying about this?
The first real official statement from the Ukrainians has come out. According to the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, they saying that they attacked units of Russians in Makiivka, and they said that up to 10 units of what they describe as various military equipment was destroyed in that attack. No mention of any kind of death toll. They, in their words, say that the human loss is still being calculated, but it seems to be the first kind of recognition, official statement, that coincides by these allegations made by the Russians. I think what's surprising and is rare is that this is an admission by Russian forces of seemingly quite a large attack. This is not normal procedure. Interestingly, earlier there was a statement put out on a Telegram channel saying that it was part of the Strategic Communications Directorate for the Ukrainian forces, and they saying that up to 400 Russian soldiers were killed in this attack and 300 injured. So it's very difficult, impossible in fact, for us to verify these kind of numbers. But just to put it in context, obviously Makiivka, close to Donetsk, is very close to a front line. And there is fighting going on in towns like Avdiivka, close by, right the way along that area of the front line. So it would not be inconceivable that such a large strike has happened. The Russians saying that an American weapons system, the HIMARS, was used in it. And let's not forget, though, that within a 24-hour period of this strike happening, Russia was launching barrages of cruise missiles and kamikaze drones at the capital city, at targets here in the capital city. Very few casualties, but a lot of damage done. But it's going to be very interesting to see just how the Russians respond to this attack, because, as I say, it's very rare that they admit that so many casualties, that they've suffered so many casualties in an attack like this.
Well, coming up this morning on Morning Barbados, a community activist is determined to see a change in his community. How? He'll join us to talk to us a little bit about his plan and the purpose. Can you detect when your child is using or even abusing alcohol? What are the signs? What are the symptoms? And is there a link between what the mother does during child care as well? All that and a whole lot more straight ahead. But we'll also today be sharing with you those 12 defining achievements in CARICOM for the year 22 as Ambassador Commichon joins us to take a look back at the year that was. Do join us at 6:30 for Morning Barbados. The morning report takes a break here, but coming up after the break, Barbados Task Force on Reparations takes issues with a story in the British media.
Enjoy movies, soaps, drama, comedy, inspiration, education, music, and more. You get it all when you get MCTV, because MCTV gives you more.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. That's morning without the G. Come and let us turn those pages together.
Because you love English Premier League, MCTV has got it back. Now you can watch all the games of the English Premier League plus UEFA and NFL on MCTV. Current customers can upgrade to Max Pack Extra at just $23. Call MCTV today at 228-6288 to upgrade or come in and sign up for a new...
The Deputy Chairperson of the National Task Force on Reparations is this morning bringing clarity to a news story in a British newspaper, the Daily Telegraph, about Barbados' reparations campaign. Speaking to CBC News, Ambassador David Commichon says it is clear there is a mission to concoct a narrative about Barbados' reparations campaign. He says what has happened is that words have been placed in his mouth as he was quoted out of context.
A good example of the technique is the Daily Telegraph journalists asking me if Barbados intends to pursue a reparations claim against the family of someone named Benedict Cumberbatch. And when one answers that one does not know who Benedict Cumberbatch is, nor anything about his family's supposed involvement in slavery in Barbados, that answer is reported as my having asserted that Barbados has not ruled out pursuing a reparations claim against Mr. Cumberbatch and his family.
Mr. Comachon says the big headline was then a surprise to him because we are not pursuing the Benedict Cumberbatch. He termed it a campaign of deceptive and misleading British yellow journalism.
In the year 2016, CARICOM, and by extension Barbados, advanced a reparations claim against 6 Western European governments, inclusive of the government of the United Kingdom, a claim for reparations for the damage that Barbados and the other CARICOM nations experienced during the centuries of European orchestrated native genocide and African enslavement. And the claim was advanced against the national government because it constitutes the institutional linkage between the European nations present and its past. In the following years, CARICOM, and by extension Barbados, extended the reparations claim to currently existing European companies and institutions that were either directly implicated in the crimes committed during those centuries of genocide and enslavement, or that benefited financially from the said crimes. To date, neither CARICOM nor Barbados has officially leveled a reparations claim against a European family.
Well, the coastline stretching from the Crane to the south coast was crammed with beachgoers on New Year's holiday. There were tourists alongside a number of locals who took advantage of the sun, the sea and the sand. Wendy Burke reports.
A look from above the hill of Crane Beach with the high surf would make you think there was nothing going on. But that was far from the truth. There were plenty of people gathered taking full advantage of that surf. We met up with Steve, who was on his way to have some of the fun these other boogie boarders were having.
The waves up here are really good for boogie boarding, and it's been rough all week. And the seaweed's on the beach, but not in the ocean, so it's pretty good today.
Some also soaked up the sun, while others just took a dip. Over at Enterprise Beach, it was a mix of people and activities, from vending to exercise to groups of friends and family hanging out. Among them was Nello Bino and his group.
I have a group of youngsters who are retired like me, and we come and solve the world's problems. So a couple of them have gone away on cruises and visits, right? But I decided, I've been here since about 9 o'clock this morning, so we had some fish cakes and enjoying our day, and another friend brought mangoes, so we had a really good time. The bank holiday, I look forward to it. Right, for people who are working, and that they should have some rest.
Beauty of the beach also drew some cruise ship passengers. It was a first to this beach for Cindy and Carrie.
I did an excursion last time on another cruise inland, but it's much more fun and not be on an excursion and just hang out at the beach. The shoreline, the drama of the waves, the natural beauty, and the friendliness of the people. Barbados is just amazing.
This is Carrie's 6th visit to the island.
I've been to several beaches along the coastline of Barbados, and I love coming here every time. I've chosen the South Beaches most lately, just because I like the atmosphere of the waves rolling in. I like waves, and it's a new places to discover.
There were also people doing some serious exercising, having fun in the water with different toys, teaching the little babies to swim, playing paddleball, and even reading, or just tanning. For many, it was the idea of being able to relax, and quite a few rented chairs and umbrellas.
Business today has been awesome. Over the last couple of months, you've seen the business picking up as the season comes in. So, yeah, business has been good. More so people that live in the neighborhood along Atlantic shores and Enterprise. Most of the cruise ship vendors usually stay around Bridgetown area, the Carlisle used to be in the Bronx Beach area. We don't see a lot of those down here, very seldomly. So around the area you will see a lot of tourists that frequent the area.
And for those who didn't bring a picnic lunch, the vendors had them covered.
Business has been going pretty great. Fish skits and hot dogs.
What else?
Drinks and snacks.
Whatever the activity, these people had a ball at the beach to begin the year.
Thank you, Wendy. The head of the International Monetary Fund has warned this year will be tougher than 2022 for most of the global economy as the United States, the European Union and China see slowing growth. IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva says 2023 will be a tough year, with a third of the world's economies expected to be in recession.
It's warning 2023 will be much tougher for hundreds of millions of people. The IMF blames the simultaneous slowdown of economic activity in the United States, Europe and China caused by the war in Ukraine, inflation, higher energy costs and rising interest rates. Hassan Ahmed Khalil is an economist and financial market expert. He says forecasts suggest the situation will be worse than the global financial crisis of 2008.
Financial misbehavior, financial greed will always come back into the picture. The world now is back suffering from excessive leverage from the level of the individual citizen in every country to the corporate to the sovereign. Look at how many countries now are defaulting. We have quite few that we have seen in Africa. We have seen Sri Lanka. We have seen a deterioration of the Egyptian pound now, and the Egyptian debt is under strain. We've seen default of Lebanon, and you can carry on and carry on. But you add to it the Ukrainian-Russia war, which put a lot of strain on commodities prices. Mainly you talk about you can't make ketchup today, no corn, no wheat. So all of these are adding, created inflation. What do governments do when there is a time of inflation? They raise interest rates. But what we have seen, that interest rates have come up in a trend that also was not precedented before. We've seen interest rate go from $0 in dollar all the way to 4.5% in under a year. We've seen the euro come up from sub-zero interest rates to 2.5%. And it could reach 3% very soon.
Venezuela and Colombia have reopened their shared border from day 1 of 2023 to allow passage of cargo and passenger transport via the cross-border Tienditas International Bridge. The South American countries had already reopened another border in September after political ties strengthened under Colombia's new president, Gustavo Petro.
It is a scene that people living along this border have waited for years. A line of passenger cars crossed from Colombia into Venezuela on Sunday, symbolically and practically ending years of tense relations between the two countries.
It is really a great joy for all Colombians to be able to move between the two countries again. Many of us were used to moving freely, and it made us very sad that for many years these two countries were separated. So we are very happy.
Authorities reopened the Tienditas Bridge on January 1st with a festive binational ceremony. Balloons flew in the air, while government delegations met at the center of a bridge that until recently had been blocked by containers placed there by the Venezuelan army.
Today, with this formal opening, we fulfill the political will of President Nicolas Maduro and Gustavo Petro of total and transparent openness of the border with Colombia.
Leftist Colombian President Gustavo Petro had announced a normalization of diplomatic relations with Venezuela after winning elections in August. The two countries have gradually restored border crossings and commerce since then. The shared 2,200 kilometers border had been partially closed 7 years ago and completely blocked in 2019 after the Colombian President Iván Duque questioned Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro's re-election. Since then, security along the border has deteriorated, with armed groups controlling the legal transport of goods and the exodus of Venezuelan migrants. Now people on both sides, many binational, are hoping they will benefit socially and economically.
vuelve a ser la hermandad.
The former brotherhood is back, and this is what the Venezuelan people want, that we build brotherhood again, that our Venezuelan brothers come through with vehicles, that they enter Colombia, because many people have their relatives on the other side of the border.
Trade between the two countries was worth over $7 billion back in 2008, but has collapsed to less than $300 million since. While returning to those levels will be difficult, the reopening has brought relief and hopes for better times ahead.
Let's turn to sports now. The Michael Pearce trained horse with jockey Aaron Daniel aboard won the New Year's Day Handicap, the feature race at the Garrison Savannah last evening. This was the first day of the 2023 horse racing season.
A lot to it, and the Star Orders, and they're racing. And Phil Moores is the one who pops out to lead early. On the outside going up is Rainbow Warrior. Then on the inside is Mikal. Towards the outside to the roads between horses is Jack Manani Gap. And the back marker is Sid. As they race towards the 2 furlong marker, just a mile to go. And it is now Rainbow Warrior who strikes the lead. In front by just about a length. From on the inside, Phil Moores. On the outside is Tudor Rose pulling double. Jack Manani Gap is next. Mikal, and the back marker is Sid. The opening quarter was 27-2. And Rainbow Warrior continues to lead uncontested. From on the outside, Tudor Rose. Down the inside, Phil Moores is pulling hard. Also Jack Manani Gap. Mikal has one beaten at this stage, and this is Sid. They round the paddock bend after a half mile and 54-2. They head off to the back stretch, and Rainbow Warrior is just the leader. In front by about half a length from on the outside, Ebony Rose. Phil Moore saves ground on the inside third. In touch with these is Jack Manani Gap and Mikal. Sid still has all to pass as they head back towards the 4 furlong marker. So with a half mile left to travel, they round the far turn. 6 completed in 1:24-4. They head up the hill. They've just got over 3 to go, and Rainbow War still the leader from Tudor Rose, the favourite up front. Mikal takes closer order as well. Then there's Phil Moores, Jack Manani Gap, and Sid are the back pair. As they race towards the 2 furlong marker, Rainbow War, the jock to ask a question, is being pressed down the outside by Tudor Rose, making a nice big run on them on the 3 wide is Mikal. Then there's Phil Moores, Sid, and Jack Manani Gap is the back marker. As they turn towards the judge, and Mikal has come to the front. Rainbow War is hanging tough. Phil Moores gets a lovely run on the inside. Waiter out, here comes Sid with a run as well. And Tudor Rose staying on at one pace, but it's Mikal who's going to get home, opening up to him by 2 or 3. On the outside, Rainbow Warriors, best of the rest, will be second. Then came Tudor Rose in the inside, Phil Moores, Sid, and Jack Manani Gap was the last one home. They came home in 2:22-3.
Well, let's take a look outside your window now to share with you what's in the forecast for Barbados today, as recorded earlier at the Met Office of the Grant Lee Adams International Airport. It's 24.8 degrees Celsius at the moment. Conditions are partly cloudy with a slight haze, and the winds are coming from the east at 28 kilometers an hour. Expect today a low tide at 3 minutes to 7 this morning, the second at 18 after 8 this evening, and a high tide is scheduled for around 40 minutes after 1 this afternoon. Seas today are predicted to be moderate in open water, swells ranging from 1.5 to 2 meters and steady. In the forecast for Barbados today, partly sunny with a few brief isolated light showers. And in the forecast for Barbados tonight, a mix of clear skies and clouds with a few brief scattered light to moderate showers. And now some forecast conditions for some international cities. And that's the CBC Morning Report for today. I'm Pearson Bowen. Morning Barbados starts now.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
How do you do? Good morning to you indeed, and welcome to today. Today is Tuesday. Note the date, it is Tuesday, the 3rd of January 2023. Good morning indeed. It sounds so strange to say now 2023. Just yesterday we were saying 2022 practically in our own heads. But here we are now at the start of a new year. I'm Pearson Bowen, welcoming all of you everywhere. Thank you so much for joining us on our streams on YouTube and on Facebook. As always, we're grateful for your company, but we love it when you interact with us as well. So feel free to comment and to share your posts as well. But tell others about us. Share the streams. Share it everywhere. Morning Barbados is truly on. Now today, Tuesday, we'll be taking a look at the upcoming elections in Antigua. Oh, there's a lot of drama happening there, and we can't wait to talk to our journalists on the ground there to hear what's the very latest on the campaign trail, and we'll share with you what that latest is today. We'll also be sharing with you some of the people who we've met, some of the things we have done in 2022, and it would amaze all of you. Just the kinds of conversations we've had here on Morning Barbados, so we'll continue to look back with you as well. If time permits, we'll be unscrambling some words and some letters as well, so look forward to the opportunity to interact with you. Also, those 12 defining moments in CARICOM for 2022. If you stop to think about it for just a moment, we've had the 12 days of Christmas. We will have the 12 defining moments of CARICOM as well. And Ambassador Commission will share with us as we looked at those defining moments of who we are in this space. Can you spot when your child is abusing alcohol? Really, really, can you? Really, can you? Do you know the signs? Well, Dr. Birchwood, our pediatrician, will share with us, and we'll also be sharing with you what you can do when you have that happening with you as well, when your child is abusing alcohol. But let's get started this morning by meeting a community activist who's very passionate about the space in which he lives and the ways that he'd like to see that space develop. Janelle Brown joins us now. Janelle, good morning to you.
Good morning, Pearson. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Good to see you yet again after some time. Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, Happy New Year. I haven't seen you in years.
Yes, it's been a little while. But you're doing some amazing work in your community. Talk to me a little bit about what you're doing and explain to me why you're doing what you're doing.
Well, I've been doing this behind the scenes for a lot of years. It's just, I guess it's just been blowing up recently all over Barbados. But we have launched something called Operation Ceasefire, a holistic community initiative targeting all ages. The aim is to bring an end to gun violence with a proactive approach. When we talk about aim to bring, gun violence to a closing, we wouldn't be able to bring it to exact closing, but you know what? We are bringing an approach, a really proactive approach to bring the youth back to a place of unity too as well, and also to put down the guns.
That requires some re-engineering of the mindset, re-engineering of the value system, all of those kinds of things. So how are you attacking it? From what levels?
So we're attacking it from the schools too as well. What we're doing is that we have done an initiative, Operation Ceasefire, in the schools, where we have done entrepreneur workshops as well. We continue that this year too as well. We're going to the schools, we're attacking them from a young age too as well, because they're exposed to a lot of different things at their age, more to even when we are at the different ages where we're at that age. They have the technology too as well that help them, we're very open up to a lot of things. So we're going to the schools, we're teaching entrepreneurship, we're doing workshops and stuff like that free of cost, and we're causing them to change their mindset on that level. Then when we're doing in terms of the blocks, we're trying to bring a lot of sports integration together. We have started the world tennis, which was a big successful thing too as well in Seal Square. The young man has been very happy. We did a tournament too as well, just before everything was Boxing Day. And we continued that for the year. And then we add other things too as well, like football and stuff like that, towards those initiatives. With these initiatives, some people may have, different, can this stop gun violence and stuff like that? But what sports does, it brings discipline, and it also too as well helps one person to control their anger, and have more measures to use the energy in a more positive way than thinking about gun violence and thinking about all the other things too as well that would not just bring something that will bring out something positive.
Changes in attitudes and changes in behaviors require repetition and consistent repetition. And so the natural skeptic in people would say, that's all well and good to do it now, but what happens when it's all over? How do you plan to sustain it so that there is an embedding of the change that you want to see?
Well, the thing is that we don't want an elephant in the room. We don't want to start something and don't continue it. The thing is that we'll be continuing it throughout the year. Last year, we were doing it a lot too as well with basketball. We've done a lot of things concerning the sports, and even the cricket. So this is something that is continuing over and over and over that we're doing. And as soon as one program is finished, we're enrolling into a next program. And then also too as well, we have launched an entrepreneurship, avenues to be able to bring jobs for young men out there too as well. So we're doing a lot of work. Christmas time, we give out over 50 gifts to as well to parish lands, civil science, and sales court too as well. So we're tackling it in a way, because the pandemic, a lot of people have been locked down before. Some people suffer from mental health and different things too as well. This whole road tennis tournament brought a lot of unity together. We brought laughter together, and it was a more peaceful event too as well. And people got to socialize. I found that in the midst of the pandemic, people have lost that touch, that human touch among each other, and we're trying to bring a holistic value, realistic of a unity. And call just people who are just be able to socialize it once again, to really come together in collaboration to know that a community can be changed.
If my ears are right, I heard you say Boscobel a moment ago. And if that is so, is that Boscobel, St. Peter? And it would appear to me then, if that is so, that you're trying to tackle this island-wide. Am I reading it correctly?
Yes, it's an island-wide initiative. We did something too as well this year with the sports when it comes to Wanderers and Boscobel. Unfortunately, Boscobel lost, so in the finals, Wanderers won the prize. But we're doing a lot of sports initiative. We really believe that sports integration can really bring a next level when it comes to young men too as well, looking forward for hope, bringing different initiatives to as well. And a lot of those tournaments too as well, they're not free, they're winning things and stuff like that. And to me, the whole entrepreneur works. If you say, for instance, you win $500 or $1,000, and it may be small, but if you really have an entrepreneur mind, you can take that $1,000 and invest into something else, and you could continue that investment, and your money could continue to turn over. Because one thing too as well, one of my strengths is being an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur from the time I was young. I've been a governmental advisor too as well to Roosevelt Scarrett, Prime Minister of Dominica. I've had privileges of doing that, and that's my area when it comes to business. Yeah, so taking the small things and then multiplying it too as well, and making a business move from that small stage, those increment stages, into a stage where it can be able to employ others. That's what I'm about, and that's what I'm teaching the young men all over Barbados, to be able to teach them to fish and to fish for a lifetime. And that's what serial entrepreneurship is all about.
That's fantastic. As I was listening to you speak just now, the image came to my mind. My yard could be clean, but that does not mean I live in a clean community. And so you're saying, while we try to fix one, we have to fix the whole as well. What kinds of successes have you been seeing thus far with your initiative, your community initiatives?
Well, the initiatives that we have started to as well, we just put a name, Operation Ceasefire, on it. But we've been doing this for a long time. We've had some young men too as well that we have put onto from the blocks. We paid the intuition too as well, and they're working at Sandals. So we're seeing a lot of them too as well, because you said something that's very important. Mindset is so important. How we see life, and a lot of people, a lot of young men too as well, young women too as well, how they see themselves. And a lot of them, when you talk to them, they really don't see themselves in the next 5 years. You don't see that they don't even have a goal for the next year or 2 years. They don't even know what they want to do. But we have, because of this proactive approach, you're hearing young men saying, I'm 32 years old, man. I need to start to get my life serious. I need to start to look for work. I need to start a business. And that's what we're doing. We're bringing that conscious decision to let young men know that they can do something with their life. They can be great. They can be the next prime minister. They could be the next lawyer. They could be the next contractor. They could be the next carpenter. Whatever they put their mind to do, this Justice Peace is there to help them and support them, whether physically, but consciously, being able to give them affirmations too as well, to let them know that they can do it. Because if it could be done for me, it could be done for them. And this came through a cry that the young man came out. They said there was nothing going on in the community. It was for a while, and then I said, you know what, let's build this court. And everybody said, well, can a court be built in 4 days with a magnitude like that? Because we have solar lights in and stuff like that, the poles in, it's a really, really nice tennis court. But 4 days, it was a lot of hard work. I must thank the community too as well. They had a lot of young men too as well from the community and sales court that really put a hand in it. We had a project manager that was there too as well, Rivers. He did a real work. He did up to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the night time to get this done. So we really have seen a real community spirit. And you know what? It showed young men too as well that, you know what, they could be carpenters. It showed people that even know that they had the skill in them. It really produced something out of them. And we really see that adversity, sometimes when your back is against the wall, you know what, it can produce some real great results. And the pandemic, we have seen that, you know, sometimes people have become the greatest in the pandemic. You know, even in the pandemic, I was even learning how to cut hair too as well. So there are things that are coming out of us. And no matter how good you are, no man is an island. So I want to thank the Sales Square community and the young men for really coming on board, and all those supporters too as well, and sponsors. We've had a lot of professionals that have sponsored these events in Barbados, and I really want to thank them too as well for coming on board and really give towards this initiative.
It's a start, but it's a good start. And I really want to commend you, Janelle Brown, and your team really for getting out there and stepping up to the cause to see the change and be a part of the change you're seeking to make as well. So all the best indeed with this initiative. I hope that we do see the cessation of the number of violent activities in our communities, that people really absorb the message and think for just a moment before they actually begin to take the action. You're doing well. Janelle Brown, good to see you again. All the best for 2023, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Pearson, and Mornin Barbados as well.
You're welcome. Janelle Brown, a community activist, and again, it could be in the community nearest to you. Look at what can happen when we come together as one to protect each other. We're coming back in just a moment here on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Because you love English Premier League, MCTV has got it back. Now you can watch all the games of the English Premier League plus UEFA and NFL on MCTV. Current customers can upgrade to Maxback Extra at just $23. Call MCTV today at 228-6288 to upgrade, or come in and sign up for a new service. Football fans, let MCTV get you back in the game.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados
"17 minutes now to go to 7 o'clock. It is Tuesday. It is Tuesday. Get up, get going. You have places to go, things to do. Work has resumed. So for those of you who had a wonderful holiday weekend, time to get up and get going again. We've had to. So let's let you do your part now. Let's get going. Barbados needs to get going yet again. So for those of you watching, have a good day today. Now, we turn our attention to what is a serious subject, truly is. Children abusing alcohol. And over the weekend, we would have seen gone viral a video that caused a lot of us alarm. So we thought, we got to get beneath this. We have to find out what it is, what's happening, and what could be the damaging effects on that child's life and its whole system by abusing alcohol. So naturally, we turned to Dr. Birchwood. Dr. Gillian Birchwood, good morning to you.
Good morning, Pearson.
Happy New Year. Yes, I can. I can see you now too. Read my lips because I know what anyone wants to hear.
You're welcome.
There we go. There we go. Now, this serious subject of alcohol abuse in children in particular, and some would say the human being should be able to consume alcohol at any stage. What would you say to that?
I think that would be a very misguided statement because, you know, alcohol consumption affects different ages in different ways. So whereas an adult may be able to consume alcohol without it causing long-term complications, the same is definitely not true for children. And I'm sure that's what you were trying to bring out.
Well, hold on. I just saw the Christmas tree. Sorry, I'm coming back to it just a moment. There's no white in the shot, so I could take a look. Well done indeed.
It was
Finally,
a struggle, but I
folks.
got there.
She got there indeed. All right, let's get serious again. So it is not good for children. And why is it not good for children?
Well, for children, there are a number of reasons why it's a bad idea. They have a developing brain, and so their developing brain is much more susceptible to the effects of alcohol and is much more likely to cause long-term damage than, let's say, an adult. So that's one major thing. The second reason why it's not a good idea in children is because frequently when they're consuming alcohol, they're not being supervised, and therefore they are more likely to consume an excessive amount and end up with major problems, both in the short term, things like accidents. They're more likely to end up with drowning. They're more likely to have car crashes. They're more likely to have falls, all of which can cause major problems. And then thirdly, there are long-term implications which are irreversible, like brain damage, which is a really serious thing to think about in a young child. So it's highly inadvisable for children to be around alcohol. And certainly we know the legal drinking age in Barbados for children is 18 and above. So that's another major consideration. There are legal implications as well.
Yeah, legal aside, but the younger you are, the less possibility. I mean, you really can't handle it. That's the bottom line. As old as I am, I can't handle it. So imagine the child, who just can't handle it at all, and the poor soul won't be able to recover from those kinds of things. But then in this video we were just sharing, we saw the children glamorizing, that child glamorizing the use of alcohol, which in itself is a very dangerous habit, because it says to that child in its own mind, it's okay. It's okay, it's just another drink, and it's not just another drink at all. And I think we have to underscore the irresponsibility, really, of the adult who would encourage that kind of activity.
Absolutely, I would completely agree with that. So, society and, from the family all the way to the society, we are guilty of glamorizing the use of alcohol. And so in that particular instance, that child clearly has imbibed all of the messages about alcohol, from ads to social media influencers to what is going on in their own home and in their own community. So it is definitely a major problem, the glamorization of alcohol consumption. It seems like a cool thing to do. The ads always show people having a wonderful time, beautiful people having a wonderful time with alcohol, and they do not stress in any way the negative implications of children consuming alcohol. So just one drinking episode for a young child can impair their brain function. It can cause major problems, as I said, that last a lifetime. And it's not something to be taken lightly if children have consumed 1 or 2 drinks. It really can have major long-term implications.
Do we see a lot of it here in Barbados, though, where children present having consumed excessive amounts of alcohol?
It is something that is seen certainly every holiday season. On the weekends, you will tend to get it when adolescents are gathering together and they're involved in parties. And there was a study, a report that was put out by UNICEF last year using data from 2011, and it showed that nearly half of children between the ages of 13 and 15 years old have consumed alcohol in the past month. And a quarter of children between 13 and 15 years old have consumed alcohol to the point of being drunk. And that is definitely really a major concern. We know in the Caribbean that we tend to have a very relaxed attitude to young people drinking and underage drinking, but there are major consequences that are seen in our hospitals and across the healthcare network, certainly when these children engage in the very inadvisable practice of alcohol consumption.
The couple of things that we've grown up in Barbados, I'll speak for just Barbados alone. As a child, take a little sip. Just a little bit is good for you. It kills the worms, that's one. And then it's okay to have a beer. That's not alcohol. It's not the same thing. Let's talk a little bit about those two things and the damage it can do to a child.
Yes, we really do have an excessively permissive attitude towards alcohol consumption. It really is very cultural in Barbados and, dare I say, the wider Caribbean. But again, when you introduce your child to alcohol at an early age, When you make them feel that it is something that is without consequences, you are definitely sowing the wind and you will reap the whirlwind as this child gets older. You are assuming that they will only consume alcohol in the context of being at home. Well, I have news for parents. When you introduce them to alcohol early, in no time flat, they're consuming it at parties, and then you get all the reports that make parents' hair stand on end when they hear of the consequences in their children.
I've heard the term alcohol poisoning. What is that?
Alcohol poisoning is the result of excessive consumption of alcohol. So most people know what it is to be tipsy, which is that they've consumed much alcohol. People often like to be tipsy for reasons that we won't get into. But if you've consumed a lot of alcohol over a short period of time, they've been binge drinking, then a person's body doesn't have time to catch up with the amount of alcohol they've consumed. And soon you see the effects of alcohol. Alcohol is a central nervous system depressant, which means it affects the functioning of the brain and the spinal cord. So when you have alcohol poisoning, it primarily, initially, you can see the effects on the brain and spinal cord. So the first and most visible sign is vomiting. You can have really excessive vomiting, but then it progresses to that person being extremely confused. You start seeing them being very disoriented. They're stumbling around, and then you may actually see respiratory depression, which is they start having shallow breathing and their breathing gets less regular. In extreme cases, there can be seizures and even death. And we've certainly heard these reports on the news from universities around the world when people have frat parties, etc. That is the result of alcohol poisoning. And it's exactly that. It's poisoning someone's body.
And I'm glad you said it like that, because someone would say, oh, he's just drunk. That's all it is. He just drank too much. But you're saying that's the poisoning of the body when that happens. And I like the fact you talked about it affects the brain and the spinal cord. The spinal cord, your body needs that cord, that spinal cord to stand up right. And here it is. When that is impaired, obviously you're going to flop. You're going to just collapse and those kinds of things, or you just become totally impaired. And so for those who are out and about enjoying the parties at this time of the year, particularly, and as we get ready to have those other festive moments like carnivals and the like, you just have to be so mindful of how much you do consume and knowing now how it affects your brain and your spinal cord and the stupidness. And I will say it straight up, the stupidness that therefore follows as a consequence that you could have avoided. You simply could have avoided. And a lot of it comes down to how we permit these things to happen from a very young age. So how can we deal with making sure that we keep our children safe from alcohol?
Well, it is the same as it is for everything else we don't want our kids to get involved in. As a parent, model the correct behavior. Our children pay attention to us. As they get older, we often think our teens aren't looking at us, but they are always looking at us and listening to us and learning from us. If you as a parent are drinking all the time, drunk and disorderly, really they're going to be following the pattern that you have established. The other thing is, other than modeling the behavior yourself as a parent, is to talk to children about alcohol. Talk to them about what it means to drink responsibly. Talk to them about alcohol poisoning. Talk to them about experiences that you may have had yourself that were less than stellar. Tell them the truth about alcohol. It's also very important to make sure that you supervise alcohol around your home. You don't want alcohol just lying around so that young children and teens can get into it when you go out the door, work, and they're home on holiday. When they're going out to parties, try to make sure that there is supervision at those parties so that there is not alcohol consumption. Alcohol consumption by teens in groups can be a very, very dangerous thing. And it's important to let them know the actual consequences, do not minimize the effects of alcohol consumption by children. Very, very important.
Super important indeed. And trying to mask the alcohol in things that punch, trying to mask it and add a little tip to the milk and help you sleep better, that does not solve the problem at all. But then how does breastfeeding from a mother who had herself during gestation been abusing alcohol, how does that affect the child long term?
Well, that is a really, really consequential aspect of alcohol consumption. And so, if a mother consumes alcohol, for example, during pregnancy, that can result in lifelong changes to the baby if she has consumed a lot of alcohol. And so, a baby can develop something called fetal alcohol syndrome. So, they're born with physical features that are different from children whose mothers have not consumed alcohol. And we can tell after a baby is born, this mom has probably consumed alcohol and may not have confessed to it. So children have long-term brain damage. Their development, their intellectual development is different, and they can have other complications which last them a lifetime just from mom consuming alcohol in excess during the early stages in pregnancy. So it's really major. When she is breastfeeding, a mom can pass alcohol to the baby through the breast milk. And I will tell you, I always advise moms, don't take any at all. You may see on the internet, you can have a glass of wine and then pump and dump that breast milk. But I would tell you, I've been in this long enough to know that they are always revising downward what is considered an acceptable amount to drink while breastfeeding. So I really think it's best to just avoid it. And plus, you want to keep your head clear to look after that little baby. I would avoid consuming alcohol when you are breastfeeding. You can wait a little bit. It's good for your baby. And when you finish breastfeeding, you can go back to safely and responsibly drinking alcohol in your home or party.
I had no clue that as medical practitioners, you could tell. You said physically, and when you say physically, you're talking about brain function and the like, or are you talking about the external features as well?
External features. So you can tell when a baby is born, these external features are consistent with a mother having consumed alcohol in the early stages of the pregnancy. And their brain is actually smaller, their head is actually smaller from a mom drinking alcohol during the pregnancy. So it's really something that affects a baby for their entire life.
Oh my gospel, I did not know that. I've learned that today for sure, that you can actually see the physical difference in a child who was born to a mother who herself was abusing alcohol in pregnancy. Did not know. So folks, now you know how dangerous it is and the kind of long-lasting effect you can have on the poor child who did not ask for it. You know, so it is so important that we really do think through very carefully what we put into our vessels and how it affects the babies that are born from thereafter. What about the father? Because he has to contribute to the birth. So he being an alcoholic, can that in its way also be transferred to the child in pregnancy?
So it can't affect the child in pregnancy, but the home environment that that baby is brought into. If there's alcohol abuse in the home environment, it makes for a very chaotic home environment. Children who grow up in households where there's alcohol abuse are more likely to abuse alcohol themselves. They're more likely to have mental health problems. They're more likely to perform poorly at school. And their life trajectory is different from those who grew up in households where alcohol was consumed responsibly. So they're more likely to have delinquent behavior. They're more likely to not have a job. They're more likely to end up in jail. So even though you may not be the one consuming it yourself as a child, by proxy, growing up in a home where there is alcohol consumption, there are really major impacts for that as well. So it's really key for parents to drink responsibly because it is important for the long-term well-being of their child.
Drinking responsibly in some household means, therefore, don't let the children see you, even though their eyes are sharper than you think. And perhaps it would mean don't drink at all. What about that for a change? Not to drink at all. So put the bottles out of reach, put the bottles away.
Yes.
Monitor your children as well as you go, because you will see the difference in their behavior. You will begin to see the difference in their attitudes when you know that they're consuming alcohol to the point where it's really impairing their behavior. So those things are absolutely critical. Carol Ann Martins on Facebook is saying, wow, I'm always learning something new every morning on Morning Barbados. Carol Ann, me too. Me too. So now we both know together today that you can actually see the physical difference in the child born to a mother who was consuming and abusing alcohol. All these things now we know, thanks to you, Dr. Birchwood, as always. So thank you so much for joining us. And I hope that in learning, folks, that we see the change in behavior. That's what we're aiming for. The change in behavior, us being far more responsible in what we do and recognizing its impact on those who are watching us and those for whom we have responsibility as well. Dr. Bertrand, have a great year ahead. Looking forward to even more interactions with you, if it be God's will, next week. Thank you.
Lovely to be with you. Have a great day.
Likewise. We're going to take a break right here on Morning Barbados. We're coming back with the news in just a moment.
Enjoy movies, soaps, drama, comedy, inspiration, education, music, and more. You get it all when you get MCTV, because MCTV gives you more.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
A minute and a half after 7 now, the Deputy Chairperson of the National Task Force on Reparations is this morning bringing clarity to a news story in a British newspaper, the Daily Telegraph, about Barbados reparations campaign. Speaking to CBC News, Ambassador David Commichon says it is clear there is a mission to concoct a narrative about Barbados reparations campaign. He says what has happened is that words have been placed in his mouth as he was quoted out of context.
A good example of the technique is the Daily Telegraph journalist asking me if Barbados intends to pursue a reparations claim against the family of someone named Benedict Cumberbatch. And when one answers that one does not know who Benedict Cumberbatch is, nor anything about his family's supposed involvement in slavery in Barbados, that answer is reported as my having asserted that Barbados has not ruled out pursuing a reparations claim against Mr. Cumberbatch and his family.
Mr. Commichon says the big headline was then a surprise to him because we are not pursuing the Benedict Cumberbatch. He termed it a campaign of deceptive and misleading British yellow journalism.
In the year 2016, CARICOM, and by extension Barbados, advanced a reparations claim against 6 Western European governments, inclusive of the government of the United Kingdom. A claim for reparations for the damage that Barbados and the other CARICOM nations experienced during the centuries of European orchestrated native genocide and African enslavement. And the claim was advanced against the national government because it constitutes the institutional linkage between the European nations present and its past. In the following years, CARICOM, and by extension Barbados, extended the reparations claim to currently existing European companies and institutions that were either directly implicated in the crimes committed during those centuries of genocide and enslavement, or that benefited financially from the said crimes. To date, neither CARICOM nor Barbados has officially leveled a reparations claim against a European family.
The coastline stretching from the Crane to the south coast was crammed with beachgoers on New Year's holiday. There were tourists alongside locals who took advantage of the sun, sea and sand. Wendy Burke reports.
A look from above the hill of Crane Beach with the high surf would make you think there was nothing going on. But that was far from the truth. There were plenty of people gathered taking full advantage of that surf. We met up with Steve, who was on his way to have some of the fun these other boogie boarders were having.
The waves up here are really good for boogie boarding, and it's been rough all week. And the seaweed's on the beach, but not in the ocean, so it's pretty good today.
Some also soaked up the sun, while others just took a dip. Over at Enterprise Beach, it was a mix of people and activities, from vending to exercise to groups of friends and family hanging out. Among them was Nello Bino and his group.
I have a group of youngsters who are retired like me, and we come and solve the world's problems. So a couple of them have gone away on cruises and visits, right? But I decided, I've been here since about 9 o'clock this morning, so we had some fish cakes and enjoying our day. And another friend brought mangoes, so we had a really good time. The bank holiday, I look forward to it. Right, for people who are working, and that they should have some rest.
Beauty of the Beach also drew some cruise ship passengers. It was a first to this beach for Cindy and Carrie.
I did an excursion last time on another cruise inland, but it's much more fun to not be on an excursion and just hang out at the beach. The shoreline, the drama of the waves, the natural beauty, and the friendliness of the people. Barbados is just amazing.
This is Carrie's 6th visit to the island.
I've been to several beaches along the coastline of Barbados, and I love coming here every time. I've chosen the South Beaches most lately, just because I like the atmosphere of the waves rolling in. I like waves, and it's a new places to discover.
There were also people doing some serious exercising, having fun in the water with different toys, teaching the little babies to swim, playing paddleball, and even reading, or just tanning. For many, it was the idea of being able to relax, and quite a few rented chairs and umbrellas.
Business today has been awesome. Over the last couple of months, you've seen the business picking up as the season comes in, so yeah, business has been good. More so people that live in the neighborhood, along Atlantic Shores and Enterprise. Most of the cruise ship vendors usually stay around Bridgetown area, the Carlisle to be in the Bronx Beach area. We don't see a lot of those down here, very seldomly. So around the area, you'll see a lot of tourists that frequent the area.
And for those who didn't bring a picnic lunch, the vendors had them covered.
Business has been going pretty great. Fish skits and hot dogs.
What else?
Drinks and snacks.
Whatever the activity, these people had a ball at the beach to begin the year.
The head of the International Monetary Fund has warned this year will be tougher than 2022 for most of the global economy, as the United States, European Union and China see slowing growth. IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva says 2023 will be a tough year, with a third of the world's economies expected to be in recession.
It's warning 2023 will be much tougher for hundreds of millions of people. The IMF blames the simultaneous slowdown of economic activity in the United States, Europe and China caused by the war in Ukraine, inflation, higher energy costs and rising interest rates. Hassan Ahmed Khalil is an economist and financial market expert. He says forecasts suggest the situation will be worse than the global financial crisis of 2008.
Financial misbehavior, financial greed will always come back into the picture. The world now is back suffering from excessive leverage from the level of the individual citizen in every country to the corporate to the sovereign. Look at how many countries now are defaulting. We have quite few that we have seen in Africa. We have seen Sri Lanka. We have seen a deterioration of the Egyptian pound now, and the Egyptian debt is under strain. We've seen default of Lebanon, and you can carry on and carry on. But you add to it the Ukrainian-Russia war, which put a lot of strain on commodities prices. Mainly you talk about you can't make ketchup today, no corn, no wheat. So all of these are adding, created inflation. What do governments do when there is a time of inflation? They raise interest rates. But what we have seen, that interest rates have come up in a trend that also was not precedented before. We've seen interest rates go from zero in dollar all the way to 4.5% in under a year. We've seen the euro come up from sub-zero interest rates to 2.5%, and it could reach 3% very soon.
Well, that's our news until now. We'll have more news here on TV8 at 12 noon in the CBC Newsday. Morning Barbados returns in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Because you love English Premier League, MCTV has got it back. Now you can watch all the games of the English Premier League plus UEFA and NFL on MCTV. Current customers can upgrade to Max Pack Extra at just $23.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We are 11 minutes after 7 o'clock. I know a number of you are familiar with the 12 days of Christmas. Today we want to look at those 12 defining moments in CARICOM for the year 2022. And joining us as we take a look back and look through the amazing work done in this one year, 2022 alone, is Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM, His Excellency David Comishong. Good morning to you, Ambassador.
Good morning, Pearson. And
Two
Happy
things.
New Year.
I was coming to say that to you. Happy Christmas and Happy New Year, both of them to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Yes, a nice, restful season for me.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that indeed, but the work continues. But let's look back at the amazing work that has already been done in the last year alone. And I want to look at the 12, what we think, 12 defining moments of CARICOM, one for every month. Let's start with number one. You know, there was the adoption of the protocol for enhanced cooperation to facilitate implementation and a whole lot more. So talk to me a little bit about that and its significance for CARICOM as a signal moment.
Well, you know, we often speak about the implementation deficit in CARICOM.
Yes.
So this is something that Barbados in particular gave a lot of thought to. And we pushed this idea that we could agree to amend the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, because the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, particularly as it applies to the CSME, is based on the principle of unanimity. Everybody, every member state has to agree before something goes forward. So we said, listen, yeah, let that be the general principle. But if we find a situation where we have unanimous agreement, but for some reason we are not implementing because some countries are not ready, then let's agree that once we get the consent of the Heads of Government Conference, that any two countries that are ready to move ahead and implement, that they can go forward and the others can join when when they are ready. So that mechanism is called the Enhanced Cooperation Mechanism, and we adopted the protocol that permits us to amend the treaty to put that in place at the Heads of Government Summit in Belize in March of last year.
Yeah, boy, that was a significant moment indeed. Another one, as it affects the people, because CARICOM is also about the people, is the reduction of the intra-Caribbean roaming rates. That has to have meant so much to so many.
Yes. Again, the whole idea of the CSME is that it must be one domestic space. So we want one domestic space, one ICT, information communications technology, one domestic space. Why, if you are traveling from Barbados just next door to St. Lucia or St. Vincent, should you have to pay higher rates to use your cell phone? So we set up a CARICOM committee headed by the then Prime Minister of Grenada, Honorable Keith Mitchell, and they negotiated with the telecommunications companies, and they came to an agreement. So last year we signed the Declaration of St. George's with the telecommunications companies agreeing to reduce the roaming rates in the Caribbean region. Now, our objective really is to eliminate the roaming rates altogether, because we're saying one domestic space. You know, it's not like we got to treat this as if we are one country. The Caribbean is one country. However, we weren't able to get to a complete elimination, but as a result of this agreement, the roaming rates have come down anywhere between 70% to 98%. So that's a great achievement.
Indeed, indeed so. The discussion now about food security, and I know that we've had many discussions about that because it's central to how we survive as a region as well. Let's talk a little bit about the advancement of the project to reduce food importation by 25%, you know, by the year 2025.
So that's achievement number 3.
Yes, it is.
So, you know, we have this project, we call it 25 by 25, to reduce the regional food import bill by 25% by the year 2025. It's an ongoing project, but we made substantial progress in 2022 in the sense that we have come to recognize that if we are to achieve that goal, if we are going to upgrade our regional agriculture, it is going to call for investment. It is going to call for finance. And we, to that end, we held 2 very successful agricultural finance conferences for fora last year. The first one was in May in Guyana. And the second one, the follow-up, was in August in Trinidad and Tobago. So we are finally getting those with institutions with capital and business people with capital to buy into the idea that agriculture is a good venue for their investment. Also, I would say last year, we were able to identify some 19 investment opportunities in agriculture. So we have this ministerial task force working on it, ministers of agriculture. They were able to collaborate with the Caribbean Private Sector Organization, the CARICOM Secretariat, to work out what are the 19 areas, 19 agricultural products that we need to push behind more if we are to reduce this regional food import bill. And then towards the end of the year, good news, Cuba will be joining this project. Cuba is going to become part of the ministerial task force. So we're going to bring all that Cuba has to offer in agricultural development to this project.
And those are only 3 achievements thus far, folks. So we've talked about already quite significant to the peoples of the Caribbean. Achievement number 4 now. And COP27 was held in Edinburgh, and Barbados stood center stage as well when we went on to Egypt too. Let's talk a little bit about the impact of COP27 as it relates to small island developing states and as it relates to Barbados in the Bridgetown Initiative.
Well, you know, when we've been having this these conferences of the parties on climate change, we tend to always come back somewhat disappointed that the developed countries haven't done enough. But at this COP27 in Egypt, we can say that the CARICOM came away with 2 very notable successes. The first one is that we finally got the developing countries to set up a loss and damage fund that to compensate developing countries like us in the Caribbean that are on the front line of a climate crisis that we did virtually nothing to develop, but we suffered the negative consequences of it. And finally, we have this loss and damage fund going now, where we can be compensated if we are hit by a hurricane, we are hit by sargassum seaweed, etc., etc. So that was because we've been fighting for that for some 30 years. I would say the beginnings of that struggle probably go back to the UN Small Island Development States Sustainable Development Conference that was held in Barbados in 1994. So that was one. But number two, Barbados was able to place on the international agenda the Bridgetown Initiative, which is this major foreign policy initiative that seeks to deal with the climate crisis, but also to deal with financing for development. And we had a very encouraging news at COP27, for example.
Yes.
President Macron of France saying that he is on board and France is going to be supporting elements of the Bridgetown Initiative as early as the IMF and World Bank spring meetings in 2023. So, number four, Pearson, a solid achievement.
Indeed so. So we've done 4 significant, folks, we're doing the 12 significant moments in CARICOM and the achievements made in CARICOM as well. Now, we've talked a lot also about skilled nationals being able to apply their trades everywhere, CSME, at real work here. But there were certain categories that still needed further definition and the like. So talk to me a little bit about how far we've moved in advancing that effort, the skilled program.
Yes, well, you know, it first started with 4 categories of skills, and then the categories have been increased over the years. But we had come to a kind of sticking point where the heads of government had agreed that we needed to add household domestics, agricultural workers, and private security officers to the categories. So that was agreed a few years ago, but for some reason, senior officials, you know, the officials could never agree on the definition. What is imagine that. What is an agricultural worker?
Yes.
We couldn't agree on the definition of an agricultural worker, for example. So at the Heads of Government Summit in July, the heads of government simply took it in hand. And at that summit, they worked out the 3 definitions that had been holding back the implementation of those 3 categories. So that's a major step forward. We now have those 3 categories sorted out, and they will be added to the categories of skilled workers who can move and work in the Caribbean. That's why we needed the enhanced cooperation mechanism, because if we had that mechanism in place, you know, any 2 countries could have come together and said, look, we agree the definitions, we are going to move ahead. But anyhow, another significant achievement that we now have those 3 additional categories as part of the Skills National Program.
Yeah, that's great news for a number of people across the region indeed. Achievement number 6 we've got to now, which is the move towards having that sub-governmental subcommittee on industrial development. And when we think of the Caribbean, we don't think industrial development, we think sugar cane and the like. But talk to me a little bit about how significant that particular move is.
Well, again, you know, this was an insight of Prime Minister Motley, because she said to the heads of government conference, look, I mean, we're in the 21st century. How is it that we have prime ministerial subcommittees and lead prime ministers for tourism, for agriculture, for so many areas, but industry, which is so critical if you're going to become a developed area, we have never set up a lead prime minister on industrial policy or prime ministerial subcommittee. So she recognized that this was a real gap in our CARICOM structure, and the heads of government conference agreed with her. And so at the conference in Belize in March, it was agreed that the president of Suriname will take on lead responsibility for developing industrial development policy for CARICOM. And so that is an achievement of 2022. He is on his way. His committee has already started to work, and they've already begun to put together a draft policy for industrial development within our region.
Now we wait to see the benefits that flow therefrom. Achievement number 7, you know, those results coming out of the Summit of the Americas, you know, with that establishment of the USA CARICOM Committee on Finance, Food Security and Energy Security as well. Let's talk about that achievement.
Yes, well, you know, the Summit of the Americas that was held in Los Angeles was somewhat controversial.
Yes,
Because Cuba and Venezuela had not been invited. At one point, CARICOM was not going to go, but eventually we relented and said, look, what's going to be discussed at this summit is too important for us not to be there. So we went and we registered a protest against the exclusion of Cuba and Venezuela. But something very positive did come out of the summit, in that first of all, the CARICOM leaders insisted that they had to meet with the President of the United States himself, not the Vice President, with the President. They did have that meeting, and out of the summit came the decision to set up 3 joint USA CARICOM committees, one on finance, one on food security, and one on energy security. The one on finance, the CARICOM side of it, is being led by Barbados, and Prime Minister Motley has appointed Professor Avinash Prasad to be the chair of the Barbados side of that committee. The one on energy, Minister Stuart Young from Trinidad and Tobago, and the one on food security, a very high official in Guyana's, Mr. Prasad, in Guyana's Ministry of Agriculture. So this is very important, because if we can collaborate with the United States on these 3 critical areas, and remember, let's look at finance. Remember last year, Prime Minister Motley actually went before the U.S. Congress at the invitation of Congresswoman Maxine Waters, the chair of the Finance Committee, to explain to them how much damage is being done in our region by these financial regulations that they have imposed on us pertaining to terrorism and money laundering, and the fact that it is running away banks from the Caribbean and correspondent banks from having relations with the Caribbean. So to have these 3 joint committees, U.S. CARICOM committees in place, it gives us the space now to collaborate with the United States of America on these 3 thorny areas.
Speaking of finance, that big hosting of the Africa Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum in Barbados alone, and we're already seeing fruit flow from that. That, for a lot of us in the Caribbean, really was a signal moment. They're reaching across the seas to Africa and working together collaboratively.
Yes, this is definitely one of the great achievements of 2022. The Africa CARICOM Trade and Investment Forum, ACTIF, that was held in Barbados between the 1st and the 3rd of September. And just a few days ago, we heard the announcement of one of the fruits of that conference, which is that the African Export-Import Bank has approved a credit facility of $1.5 billion to be devoted towards developing trade and investment exclusively between the Caribbean and Africa. And so, yes, we have always known that going forward in this 21st century, Africa is going to be very, very important to us. And so to have that conference and to have a partner like the African Export-Import Bank, which by Caribbean standards is really a giant multi-billion-dollar financial institution, to have a partner like that to help finance the things that we know need to be done, is really a tremendous step forward. So yes, one of the great achievements of 2022, and we expect that achievement is going to deliver so much more in the months ahead. In fact, this year we're going to have a follow-up conference, a follow-up forum. Again, we're going to come back to the CARICOM region again before we go to Africa. So we're going to consolidate the gains made in 2022 in 2023.
Fantastic. That was achievement 8. Now to achievement number 9. Cuba, Haiti, those parts of the region, but we want to look at Haiti in particular, the crisis there. And there's some who are going to sit and say, but we've been talking about Haiti for Thy Kingdom Come. Can we see any movement at all? What do you say as an achievement for CARICOM?
See, from my point of view, and this is something from the time I became CARICOM ambassador in 2018, I really have been pushing the issue of Haiti within the councils of CARICOM and Barbados, been pushing because, I mean, Barbados, we have tried on several occasions. We wanted to go to Haiti, to send an official Barbadian team into Haiti over the last 3 years or so, but because of the instability, because we recognize that Haiti has a lot to offer. This is a CARICOM country of 11 million people. So there's a lot to offer, but we need to get Haiti stable. So for me, I have been able to witness over the last 4 years, CARICOM gradually coming to a sense that Haiti's problems are our responsibility, and we can't leave it. We can't leave it to the United States or to Canada or to France or the OAS or the UN. No, this is our member state, and we have to be very directly involved in trying to help it solve its problems. So after several years of building towards this, CARICOM now has an initiative. We have written to all of the important sectors of Haitian society, and we have said to them, look, will you be willing to accept our invitation to come to either the Bahamas or Jamaica to meet with us, so that we could facilitate you to discuss an agreement on a way forward for Haiti that CARICOM can get behind, and then we can get the international community to join the consensus, and we can really go forward and solve Haiti's problems in 2023. So this CARICOM initiative really is coming to a head in this month of January or maybe February by the latest. So that is why I deem that to be an achievement. I think the evolution of CARICOM policy and CARICOM's effort on Haiti is an achievement for CARICOM.
I agree with you completely. Now to achievement number 10. In 1972, the leaders of the Big Three stood up, had some stiff backbone against the United States embargo against Cuba. And out of it came this relationship between CARICOM and Cuba. And so we marked the 50th anniversary in 2022. And so much more happened then as well. Let's talk about that as a defining moment for CARICOM.
Yes, we had the 50th anniversary summit, Heads of Government Summit, right here in Barbados on the 6th of December. So that in itself, having the summit, being able to commemorate 50 years of a very, very important and mutually beneficial relationship, that in itself was significant. But out of the summit has come renewed initiatives and ideas about collaboration between CARICOM and Cuba. We in Barbados also took the opportunity to have a Barbados-Cuba bilateral meeting, and that too produced some very exciting ideas. I mean, from artistic and cultural exchanges over the next 5 years to the tune of $1 million a year, to Barbados accessing Cuba's new cutting-edge diabetes medications and treatments and a whole host of things. For me, one of the great achievements came at the CARICOM-Cuba Summit when the heads of government of CARICOM and Cuba agreed to designate the 6th of October CARICOM-Cuba Day Against Terrorism. And of course, the 6th of October is the day in 1976 on which that terrible Cubana terrorist tragedy took place right here in Barbados. So to dignify that day by designating it CARICOM-Cuba Day Against Terrorism, a day on which our region will make a statement every year will make a statement to the world about the evils of terrorism and the need to stamp it out. That for me was a great achievement.
Fantastic work indeed. Now to achievement number 11, you know, the British Virgin Islands, and we know of the political upheavals that happened there in 2022, and though they're not necessarily a member of CARICOM and they're British territories, yet still CARICOM has been able to contribute successfully to the quelling almost, but setting a framework in place. Talk to me about what CARICOM has done and why is that an achievement?
Well, first of all, the British Virgin Islands may not be a full member of CARICOM, but they are an associate member. So CARICOM, we have two categories of membership. Full members, which tend to be independent countries, with the exception of Montserrat. Montserrat is a bit of an exception.
Right.
But then we have a category of associate members, which tend to be non-independent countries. So British Virgin Islands, Bermuda, Turks and Caicos, Anguilla, Cayman Islands, they're all associate members. And during 2022, we got this threat, this threat from the British government that they were going to remove whatever self-government, internal domestic self-government, the British Virgin Islands had managed to achieve for themselves over the years. The British government was threatening to take away that, to suspend their domestic parliamentary institutions and impose full colonial rule from London. And we recognize that this would be, if this happened, this would be an extremely negative and backward development because, you know, we must move forward into greater independence and sovereignty in our region, not backwards towards colonialism. And we recognize that we had a duty to our associate member. You know, if associate membership is to mean anything, then when an associate member has a problem or is facing a threat, the community has to step forward and defend it. And that's what we did. And so we made our contribution to saying to the British government, no, we disapprove of this. This would be a backward step. And CARICOM is definitely saying to you, this must not happen. And thus far, the British government has listened, and you know, the self-governing institutions remain alive and well in our associate member states. So, for me, I know these dozen achievements are David's, it's my choice, but for me, the issue of decolonization and creating a totally independent Caribbean community is very critical. So this has to be an achievement.
And speaking of that then, a totally independent Caribbean development space, really, reparations. So we're down to achievement number 12. And you know, the CARICOM reparations campaign continues. And one of the successes came from the Netherlands, as a matter of fact. Let's talk about that, so unless people have forgotten.
Yes, well, right towards the end of the year, on the 19th of December,
yes,
the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, Mr. Mark Rutte, on behalf of the government of the Netherlands, issued an official apology for the role of the government of the Netherlands in the whole history of African enslavement. And this is a significant CARICOM achievement because from way back in 2013, CARICOM had launched the reparations campaign. CARICOM created this 10-point plan on reparations, 10 demands. Demand number 1 was that the European powers must issue official apologies for their role in slavery. And an official apology is important. It's not, you're not just talking about, you know, a normal apology between, you know, two human beings. An official state apology has a certain resonance in international law. That is, it is tantamount to a formal admission of liability. The next step after the official apology is really looking at compensation.
Yes.
So in 2016, CARICOM had in fact written to the said Prime Minister Mark Rutte. He was Prime Minister in 2016, calling on him calling on his government to acknowledge that they owed reparations and to come to the negotiating table. Back then, he responded in a very non-committal way. So you can actually see the distance that he and the Netherlands government has moved between 2016, their response in 2016, and issuing this official governmental apology in December of 2022. So that tells you that the CARICOM reparations campaign is in fact making progress. So that has to be seen as a CARICOM achievement in 2022, and it augurs well for the future unfolding of our reparations campaign.
And that concludes our countdown today, ladies and gentlemen. Just kidding you. You know, the 12 defining moments in CARICOM for 2022. When you look at all of it in its totality, what do you feel about the movement of CARICOM? Because there's a significant work done already in those 12 months.
Oh, yes. You know, 2022, we were just coming out of the COVID pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the Heads of Government Conference in early March in 2022 was the first physical Heads of Government Conference since the February 2020 Barbados Conference. After that Barbados Conference, COVID really took hold, and we had to go to virtual meetings. So 2022 was a very important year in terms of coming out of COVID. And I think it was a year of very great achievement. And if I had to single out one achievement of the 12, that I think it is great. Well, let me say two. I can't. But you see, that Bridgetown initiative?
Yes.
That Bridgetown initiative, which has come out, not just of Barbados, has come out of the Caribbean, and is actually proposing three solutions to three of the fundamental problems facing the entire world community: the climate crisis, the crisis of development, financing, a removal of hunger, proper education for people all over the world, healthcare systems, and also that is tackling the burgeoning debt crisis that is threatening the entire world. I think that is such a significant development.
Mm-hmm.
All Barbadian Caribbean people need to come on board. We need to know about our Bridgetown initiative. We need to support it. We need to feel very proud about it, and we need to help it to ride to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we can achieve even half of that Bridgetown initiative, we would have made a tremendous contribution towards securing the welfare of humanity. And secondly, the active African Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, and that developing relationship not just between the Caribbean and Africa, CARICOM and the African Union, but with significant African institutions like the African Export and Import Bank. So those two achievements
Mm-hmm.
are not only achievements for the year 2022, but those are achievements that promise much for our Caribbean region going into the future.
Indeed. You know, our viewers have been paying such close attention. If my production crew can break the comment that shared earlier while you were speaking, I want you to see it for yourself. Can we do that, guys? Can we share what one of our commenters says? She says, "Thanks, Ambassador, for sharing this information with us. Many of us would not have known of it otherwise. Thank you." And so that's just one comment of so many who are saying to you this morning, thank you. Because I don't know if you hear it often enough, but thank you for the work you do on behalf of this island in CARICOM and advancing and educating us, because we sit on the sidelines and sometimes we're not paying that close attention. But when we talk with you, we hear it broken down in simple language that we all get and that we all understand, and we want to continue to support you, Ambassador Kamishong. All the best for 2023, and we look forward to the great fruits of your labor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pearson, and thanks to all of the viewers, who continue to tune in and support this weekly segment of conversations on CARICOM. CARICOM is our thing.
Yes.
And we must all be part of it, and that's why it's so important that we share the information.
Indeed.
Wishing everyone, all viewers, a wonderful 2023.
They all scream back at you. Thank you. Back at you as well. Thank you, Ambassador, indeed. Ambassador David Kamishong, Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM, giving us those 12 defining moments of achievements in CARICOM. We know the 12 days, and but now we know the 12 defining and achievements in CARICOM for the year 2022. We're taking a break. We're coming back with more in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Affair segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. And together we will travel the world.
The CBC That Made Us, featuring programming from yesteryear, which impacted the lives of many Barbadians. Join me, Sean Green, taking you back to some of your favorite shows from the late 70s, 80s, and 90s. During the series, The CBC That Made Us, every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. and repeated on Fridays, 11:30 a.m. The CBC That Made Us.
Enjoy movies, soaps, drama, comedy, inspiration, education, music, and more. You get it all when you get MCTV, because MCTV gives you more.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. That's morning without the G. Come and let us turn those pages together.
Because you love English Premier League, MCTV has got it back. Now you can watch all the games of the English Premier League plus UEFA and NFL on MCTV. Current customers can upgrade to Maxback Extra at just $23. Call MCTV today at 228-6288 to upgrade, or come in and sign up for a new service. Football fans, let MCTV get you back in the game.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
12 minutes now to go to the hour of 8 o'clock. My producer said to me, Pearson boy, in 2022, we spent so much time talking about food. Really? I really don't know. So like you, I want to look back at it as well. Some of the moments and the people who we've met and the things we've talked about in 2022 as it relates to food. Take a look. If I said to you, give me raw, don't skid up your face at me. Don't skid up your face at me, because it's actually quite good to sometimes eat some things in their natural state. And that's what we're going to be talking about now. And I'm happy to have with us today Dr. Aris Latham, who is from Sunfried Food, a scientist there and the founder of Sunfried Culinary Institute, and Stasia Davidson, founder of Raw Food Challenge in Jamaica. Good morning, both of you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you so
Barbados.
Thank you. Good morning indeed. I love it. Your enthusiasm makes me want right now to go and bite some fruit, because we're talking about eating raw. And, as I started, there are times when people hear that phrase, eat raw, and they think, yuck. What's the benefit of eating raw?
Okay. Well, number one, the food that is consumed by humans, the natural, original, and best foods for human consumption is actually cooked by the sun. A mango is cooked. Lettuce is well done. A ripe banana is perfectly cooked. So ideally, we want to wait till the pot is ready. So when you pick the banana green, you're trying to force ripe it by boiling it. You cannot compete with the sun like that. You actually killed the banana. You destroyed the life force in the banana, and now you're asking your body to ripen the banana, to process it, to turn it into sugar, into simple carbohydrate, because as a green banana, it is a starch, a complex or complicated carbohydrate that needs to be turned into a sugar. So the word raw, it's used in a provocative way, but it's actually cooked food, perfectly cooked. The sun is the chef for everyone on the planet. It comes, and as the world turns, the pot is rolling. And when the pot is ready, the birds come home to feast, and so should we.
Tamara Rodriguez is the co-creator and the executive producer of Caribbean Cookout Show. Good morning to you, Tamara.
Good morning, Pearson. How are you this morning?
I am fantastic. I saw smiles, I saw happy people, I saw people enjoying food, I saw people creating food. And if there's one thing that unites us in the Caribbean, it's our stomachs and our taste buds, our palates, it's our food. Let's talk a little bit about the rationale behind this show, the Caribbean Cookout Show.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me today. Oftentimes when you watch cooking shows, particularly in the United States, they'll have one episode celebrating Caribbean cuisine, but never an entire show celebrating the culture, celebrating the cuisine, and really elevating our culture. And so my co-creators and I sought to do just that with Caribbean Cookout.
So, it seems to me, therefore, since they're going to be challenged, as we see in international TV, are challenged to create a particular set of dishes, but we're going to be experiencing dishes from everywhere across the Caribbean. Have you traveled everywhere, all the islands? Have you experienced it from different angles? Because some islands have different cultures in there that have different recipes and so forth. Tell me a bit more about getting it together.
Sure. So what we wanted to do, first, it's not a competition, right? Because I think this idea of competing and elimination is not really where we wanted to go. What we wanted to do is bring countries together to cook together, and then we sit around the table. We invited 12 guests for every episode to sit around the table and enjoy the dishes of these countries.
Right now we're going to talk about cook this, sip that. That's right. Now, perhaps this is what you can do as part of your celebration runs. So Dario Calendar is the chef and the partner in Cook This, Sip That. Good morning to you, Dario.
Hey, good morning, Pearson. How are you doing?
I'm well. I like the name alone, Cook This, Sip That. Give me the idea behind the concept and what that is intended to achieve.
Well, my partner, Dominique, she came up with the idea that we wanted to create a concept of what, not just Barbadians, but people in general, the things that we like, which are great drinks, great food, and great company. And people tend to celebrate a lot of occasions, whether it's birthday, anniversary, or whatever it is. And things are quite limited now, especially with coronavirus. So people end up doing the same thing they usually do at a restaurant that they usually go to a couple times. They have probably been to a couple times before for dinner. And we wanted to offer something different. And you get to hang out with your friends, you get to cook some food, you drink some wine, and have a fantastic time. It's essentially the ultimate cooking party.
But let's get started this morning by taking a look at the bad boys of culinary. The name alone excites us. Joining us this morning is the co-founder of Bad Boys of Culinary. His name is Kelston Moore. Kelston, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. How do you do?
I'm doing pretty good. Just it's early morning right now in San Diego.
Early morning in Barbados for us too. I'll tell you, just we're 3 hours ahead of you. Talk to me a little bit about the origins of Bad Boys of Culinary.
Bad Boys of Culinary started because, you know, when I first started getting into my passion as being a chef and cooking, you know, diving into my roots in Barbados and my dad and my mom, just finding out more about my family. It was hard to get started at first because you didn't have those. I didn't have those tools like most people do. When I would ask for help to other chefs, you know, they would just. It was kind of hard to get information because they didn't want to share information. And so on the way, you know, my path of getting to where I'm at now, I wanted to be able to offer the opportunities to others, so that they don't have to go through the longer path that I did. They can get it right then and there, and they can be a little bit further on in their career than I am.
But 2020, the year of the start of the pandemic, actually was also quite pivotal in your decision to start the Bad Boys of Culinary, not so?
Yes, it was definitely more about coming together. You know, during the pandemic, I think that's when I really actually started. I was cooking before, doing meal preps and everything, but I really started to really dive into, you know, just sitting down at the dinner table. I had roommates, and it was just like we were all in our own different lives. And, you know, coming together at the dinner table, I think that's probably one of the greatest things that we lose in going forward in today's time is actually sitting down at the table and eating together. So with Bad Boys of Culinary, it was kind of like bringing everybody together, all different types of chefs, yacht chefs, personal chefs, restaurant chefs together to just offer the knowledge that, you know, a lot of young chefs need coming up in this career path, because it's not easy.
You could have done as most people would have done perhaps in the earlier days of the pandemic. Shut down yourself, just stay inside, not do anything whatsoever, let the fittest survive. But you decided then to pull together some very talented black chefs to be able to provide this service. How easy or difficult was it to be able to execute it with all the protocols that were in place to restrict your ability to do so?
It was definitely very challenging. Like I said, you know, just being at home, like you have nothing to do but think. And, you know, I'm a very creative mind, you know, even in my dishes and everything. I wanted to be able to pull a lot of things together. And moving, I was in the Bay Area, San Francisco area at that time, you know, so I was traveling back and forth to San Diego. It's about 8 hours, 473 miles. And meeting up with, you know, the other co-founder, Chef Quentin, you know, we were kind of on the same kind of thought process. He brought me on. It was kind of like I was learning from him. And, you know, these other chefs, they were watching what I was doing with the date night stuff and working on the yacht. They were like, man, I want to learn how to do that too. So I started to teach them. And so coming together, bringing different chefs together, it's definitely been a challenge. But I would say just looking at the rewards of seeing these chefs just grow up, it's like kind of like watching your kids grow up in a sense. It's very rewarding, and it makes me feel good to know that, you know, the knowledge that I've attained in all these years of my life, that someone else who's younger than me or has been doing this less than me now has an opportunity to excel at their craft.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. And together we will travel the world.
The CBC That Made Us, featuring programming from yesteryear, which impacted the lives of many Barbadians. Join me, Sean Green, taking you back to some of your favorite shows from the late 70s, 80s, and 90s during the series The CBC That Made Us, every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. and repeated on Fridays 11:30 a.m. The CBC That Made Us.
Enjoy movies, soaps, drama, comedy, inspiration, education, music, and more. You get it all when you get MCTV, because MCTV gives you more.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer,
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Well, we'd hoped to connect with Antigua, but circumstances on our yes end did not permit us to be able to do so, but we hope to be able to hear what's happening in the campaign there very, very soon. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. My producer has been Nadia Foster, technical director Ruel Ford, sound engineer Christopher Blenman, and at Master Control, Tamisha Green. I'm Pearson Bowen. For each of them, to all of you, we say thank you. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.